Welcome back. It's that time for our gender segment, and today we will be looking at the creative industry, talking about what is happening there right now, and also trying to make our viewers understand what the Nigeria creative industry is all about. Joining us in the studio this morning is Kingsley Okafor. Kingsley Okafor is the National President and Chairman Board of Trustees, Associates of Professional Artists and Designers in Nigeria. He is also a creative arts development economist. Kingsley, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay, let us start by probably breaking the issue of creative industry. When we talk about the creative industry and generally looking at issues of art, can we break it down so that we can really understand what exactly we're talking about?
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't understand what is creative industry. They seem to model it up. You cannot have creative industry without a creative artist. Creative artists make up the creative industry. The creative industry makes up the creative economy. And what is the creative economy? The creative economy is a new interface that deals with talents in a contemporary society that handles things that has to do with images, technology, and all that. But the creative industry is that industry that has to do with talents that make up what people can create. And this is the industry that actually creates jobs, creates employment, as long as the practitioners are well protected. In other words, you cannot have a creative economy in a society like Nigeria and you talk about recession. There's so much that can be done in order to relieve this country of this big problem that we're dealing with today. So the creative industry is the new way forward. The creative economy begets the creative culture. Culture is actually what makes up the creative economy. And what is culture? Culture has been promoted by the United Nations because it is the new way for development for the whole world. And that is why every country trying to make up with the Millennium Development 2020 and all that tend to focus more on their culture to be able to build up the economy. We can't keep talking about oil in a society where we have vast majority of talents. I'll give you this analogy. If you go to California, the California economy is about the 8th greatest economy in the world as of 2014. But Forbes today tells us that California economy is about the 6th biggest economy in the world, bigger than Brazil and Africa put together. And you can't have a situation where you have such economy that is being developed by the entertainment industry. And what is creative industry actually? The artists, the musicians, the entertainment industry, and all that. And this, in a country of 180 million people, we have a vast number of them. We can't be talking about oil, where we have a lot of development that we can get. Now, if you go all the way to United Kingdom, every 10 jobs created in UK, 1 out of it is created from the creative industry. And the economy of the United Kingdom is based much on the creative industry, which brings about almost 20% of the economy. We have a country, the GDP. Now in Nigeria, Nollywood today is about the biggest movie industry in the world in terms of the number of movies they churn out. But when you look at the developments in that industry, they are number 3 after Hollywood and Bollywood. But how much of it do they get? 80% of what is created in the Nollywood industry is pirated. In other words, that market is worth about $200 million every year. So the artists who actually make this money do not get the money because of piracy. And the government is not doing anything about it. They're not doing much to be able to get them out of the woods. It is that situation that has brought us to where we are today, and we are so dependent on oil when we can make so much money from the creative industry. If you go down to the punitive expedition of Benin in 1897, when the British colonial masters went to Benin and carried away lots of artifacts. Over 3,000 artifacts were taken away from Benin. And these artifacts, today, we have records of 6,500 artifacts that have been taken away from Africa. And we go from here to Europe and America to go to the museum to look at these artworks. Today, the British Museum receives about 25 to 30,000 visitors every day. And every day they come to the British Museum. You pay £20. £20 by 30,000 makes about 600,000 pounds every day. And every hour in UK, the creative industry creates not less than 400 million pounds.
Now, looking at all of these facts and figures that you've raised about how much of potentials that can be created by the creative industry, why do you think the Nigerian government is probably closing its eyes? Or
well, I'll tell you this. In the past, only 2 ministers have actually made attempts to retrieve some of our artifacts. Fani Kayode and Prince Adetokunbo, who was the Minister of Culture. They have written to UNESCO to be able to retrieve most of our artifacts. But these artifacts, the people they write to don't even have the courtesy of acknowledging that they've written to them. Today, we have a situation where most of these artifacts have left the shores of Nigeria. The major reason why we're having this problem is because of regulatory problems. Theft of the creative industry property. There's a lot of problems. We are not funding, we're not creating, we're not exposing our artists abroad. If you remember that there's an artwork sold some time ago by Bruce Onobragbe for $9 million naira. And if we have so many artists that produce artworks like this and they are sold for this amount of money, you would imagine how much money we'll be getting into this country. We cannot have a country like Nigeria, and we're talking about recession, where we have so much to gain from the creative industry. And this is the new way forward. Just last Friday, the Lagos State Governor